When examining how much to get paid at your workplace, we often think about the paycheck, the dollar signs, show me the money. But there is so much more to your compensation than just the funds that move into your bank account once or twice a month. In this episode of RDH Coast to Coast, Tina and Kim discuss the compensation package and the importance of evaluating your priorities. So friends, grab your headphones, take a deep breath, and let's explore this idea of compensation. Hey, Kim, how are you today?
Oh, I am doing good. How are you? It's so good to see you again.
It's great to see you. I know we're like another episode. Here we go. And Kim, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about, I believe we were talking about like the working interview, and one of the topics that came up, and we're like, write it down. We got to talk about is compensation. So I think now is a good time for us to discuss it about compensation. What does it look like? What does it all mean? And especially now that we're starting to go into a new year, that also feels like it's a good time to like reevaluate everything. So Kim, what are your thoughts on compensation and what it should look like?
There's so much that goes into compensation, right? There's the dollar amount. Are you getting production bonus? Are you getting benefits? Are you getting paid time off? Are you getting retirement? So when you say the word compensation it's either you're thinking one straight dollar amount or you're thinking of all these other things. So I think it's really good to break it down that it's not just a dollar amount, right?
Right.
There's so much more that goes into what is involved in compensation.
Right. Because I think, as hygienists and actually just as healthcare professionals in general, employees in general, we always talk about, oh, well, how much do you get paid an hour? That is our only benefit, so to speak, right? So it's like, oh yeah, depending upon where you live in the nation, oh, I make $50 an hour. Well, one, depending upon where you live, that's either great or sucks. but
Yeah.
but there is so much more behind that. And when I talk with some of my friends and colleagues who are like, oh yeah, I make maybe like X dollar amount per hour, but I also have a retirement plan where my employer is doing a percentage matching to that. Like that's long-term thinking and the whole entire compensation package that we're working with, right?
Yes. And I always like to say too is if your employer is matching what you're putting into your 401k, if you're not taking advantage of that, that's free money. That's free money that is coming in for you to enjoy what you are going to need later on when you're ready to step out of the operatory.
Right. When you're ready to stop working.
Yes,
right. It is investing that idea for the future. And I think when you're in the younger end of your lifespan and of your profession, sometimes we don't think about that, right? Like my son is 21 and with his employer, there was this, okay, hey, you're full time. You can sign up for your healthcare benefits for your retirement savings plans. And he was like, no. And I'm like, stop, hold on. I know it may not seem like a big deal to you right now because, 65, 70, which are some of the newer ages for retirement, like seems far, far away, but I'm going to tell you, if you put it in now, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So even though it's a little bit, just do it. And he was like, okay, Mom.
Well, it's so important. And my background was in finance. My bachelor's is in finance. I worked for an investment company. So I've seen all the charts that show what your dollar can do, how your dollar will work for you at a young age so that it's there for you when you're ready for retirement. So yes, he absolutely needs to invest.
Yes. Some of the other things that I think about with our, and I say, compensation package because of all of the things that you listed off, it's not just our pay, it's not just salary or hourly wages. And that's a whole other conversation, which we can dive into today of like, do you get paid hourly or do you have a salary? But things like paid time off. Paid time off is precious. Like to be able to say, okay, family and I, or I'm taking a trip here or there, to be able to say, I can be on vacation or I can be sick and know that that income is still coming and not
Right.
have to worry about that. That's a huge benefit and a big, for me, like a big relief off of my own financial burdens of thought process. Cause I know, okay, monthly bills will be taken care of because I can go and have that downtime. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say too is, just because you are going to take time off and go on vacation, your bills are still going to be waiting for you when you get home. So
Right.
if you can
Right.
have paid time off, that's a really great option. I was just asked to by a hygienist, should I work part-time or full-time? And if you can work full-time, then you get those benefits. A lot of time part-timers don't get the same benefits that a full-time employer would.
And Kim, I'm glad that you said that because what that is one of the carrots that oftentimes facilities will put in front of their employees. If you're willing to be a full-time employee, then here are other additional benefits like paid time off, 401k, healthcare benefits, continuing education credit
Yeah.
funds, or instrument or not
But
instrument, but uniform,
yeah.
right? Allowances, those types of things. Whereas a part-time individual may not have those additional things. And I'm of the thought process, and I'm curious what you think about this, Kim. I'm of the thought process of if you're part-time and you don't qualify for those extra benefits, then the hourly financial paycheck should be higher. That's how I feel. That's what I want. I'm like, okay, so the amount of production coming in is this, and so I should still be compensated financially for that, even though you're not taking care of any of these other things. What do you think?
Yes, of course I do. I wish I saw that more happening as being a long-term part-time employee at many different offices. I have seen different ways that offices take care of their part-time employees. I have had vacation time at some. I have had no vacation time at others. But actually, well, in Massachusetts now, everyone has to be paid sick time from your employer.
Does it
So
matter your employment status?
does not matter your employment status.
Oh,
As
interesting.
long as there's more than I believe it's 10 employees, then you have to be paid. It's every 6 hours you work, you get 1 hour of sick time. So you're able to bank up some sick time in the event that you are sick. You at least have that to fall back on. But I've had many times where I've worked and I didn't have any benefits, even, you know, family restorative benefits or anything like that. That was only for full-time employees, which
Oh,
those
yeah.
little things you don't feel as valued as an employee is exactly what it felt like for me.
Yeah, and I didn't think about that as a benefit as far as the family getting to have oral health care at a reduced rate,
Yes.
right? For the family. And you say that and you're right. The office that I do work with, I'm there part-time. And it isn't until you are full-time that you get to have just for your immediate household. Do you get to have that benefit? Mm-hmm.
Really. And that's interesting to me because you would think that if you are an employee, regardless of how many hours you're putting in, that they value you as an employee and they're going to let your family come no matter what. So that's interesting.
It is. But on the other side, I do have to say, I get it. I also understand the flip side of that is that, you know, cost of materials is expensive and dentistry is expensive. So I can totally understand, like, if you're only there one day a week, the the investment that you have into that office with the day-to-day activities, if you're there one day a week, it's probably, or maybe even a day and a half or whatever, that your investment in the other aspects of the office probably aren't there. It's literally just patient care. Where if
Correct.
you
Yeah.
are there on more days, you might have further responsibilities as far as looking at what needs to be ordered and helping to put those order lists together, or that might be a job, or OSHA and other kind of infection control type of items, or following up with the recall system. So I do think that has to be balanced out as well, because if you are part-time, more than likely those things don't fall on your shoulders.
Right, absolutely. And I think it's just good to have knowledge of all of that before looking for a job and weighing what is important to you, whether you're looking for a new office, to keep in mind what your current office gives you as benefits as you go out and search for something else, to keep that in the back of your mind as to what does new office X offer you.
Yeah. So Kim, I have a question for you. And what would you say are the top 3 items for you that would be the biggest realm in compensation? What are the top 3 things that you're like, these are the 3 things that I want for my compensation? And clinical practice.
Yes. And I think it's changed for me so much. It used to be my top 3 right now, I think, is dollar amount or hourly plus production, 401k. And for me, and I don't really even know if this is it's not really a benefit, but it's flexible scheduling. So that isn't really a benefit, but if we're talking specifically compensation, I would say those would be my top 2.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I normally as part-time don't get vacation time, but that would be an added extra bonus if I did. I have worked at one office that I got 2 weeks paid time off as part-time. So
yeah. Yeah.
And how about you? What are yours?
So definitely for me, because I am part-time clinical, as a part-time clinical, I would say at my hourly wage for sure. The other thing is paid time off, especially because the entire office shuts down at the same time. So when everybody takes their vacation the exact same time. And so I have no choice, right? That's the time that I'm going to be off. So, I would like to be able to have that time paid being off. So those I would say, because that would be it. If I was working full time, I would definitely say that healthcare and or retirement kind of tied in that realm as far as which one I would want. I would probably say healthcare coverage, because I could do my own thing for retirement, but healthcare coverage would be probably a higher priority. Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why I asked you that, Kim, is because I was talking with a friend of mine who is in a completely different industry, and they were discussing compensations for their employees, and said that one of the things that they've done is said, okay, here's a list of all the different ways that I can compensate you: salary, 401k, sick time, CE credits, all these different kinds of things. Rank your top 3. And as we go through, and as things, your performance evaluations come through, then we can work on those three things. Because if healthcare benefits aren't that big of a deal to you, then I'm not going to put the money into that. We'll put the money into something else.
What a great idea. I love that.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
It really is. And then you really get to buy into what you're looking for and what you need.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I know we try to keep these short, but we've talked around another topic, and I think we really should keep it. I want to bring us back to that, is hourly versus salary, and then also or adding your production into that, because that's a great topic. And so friends, I know we're probably going to go long on this one. This is maybe a little bit longer, but I think this is really valuable. I don't know about you, Kim, but I think it's really important that we talk about that. What are your thoughts on those topics?
I do, especially as you know, I really work a lot with new grads coming into the workforce. The number one question from a new grad is always compensation. And they always, are really striving for the top dollar amount, which is important, but it's not everything. And sometimes I have found myself in a situation where I've taken a lower dollar amount because I've liked the office and the atmosphere or the location, rather than just the dollar. Currently now I do get a production bonus, but I am not asked to, sell products. I'm not asked to push treatment. It's just based on anything over 30% of your salary that you make, you get a percentage of back at the end of the month.
Wow. Now that's really interesting. That's really interesting, because that's another approach to it.
Yes. And it's good because really I'm doing my job. I'm, diagnosing perio when I need to and treating it. And other than that, I'm keeping up to date with x-rays and fluoride and things like that. And all of that increases my production enough that, I do well with production bonuses.
Yeah.
Without management breathing down to say, sell more, do this, you're not going to get enough extra pay. Don't you want more? It's just not even talked about.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on salary? I was talking, I have some hygiene buddies, their office puts everybody on salary. Like they just kind of looked and said, okay, this is in general how many hours everybody works. And, here's the mandatory monthly team meeting. So this is your salary. And then they do a quarterly bonus type of a system. Like, okay, after every quarter, looking at what was done and hours worked, all those different kinds of things, there is a potential for a bonus. What are your thoughts on something like that?
I think our industry is tough for salary. I don't know. I did actually speak with a hygienist yesterday that I bumped into on the street that he is getting paid $500 flat rate for a day for temping. And he said my schedule could bomb out at noon and I could be done the rest of the day and I'm still going to get paid, which that's kind of on the line of salary because you're getting paid a set amount no matter what.
Right.
I have never experienced salary and I don't know how I would like it. I am so used to hourly. I think salary, if you are salary and your last patient cancels, are you expected to stay? Or can you go if you want? So there's a lot that goes into it. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a really great idea, especially listening to how they incorporate it. Like, yeah, okay, so maybe your first patient of the day cancels, but there's always, how many times have there always been times when like you run over into lunch or the last patient is a little bit longer, or there's an impromptu team conversation that you have to come in early or during lunch or afterwards that you have to take care of. It kind of takes that anxiety of clocking in and clocking out. But I think you do have to kind of go, okay, am I being fairly, I would monitor it, probably me personally, I would monitor it for a while to make sure it's like, okay, is this really equitable and such like that? Like, am I really getting the value of my time? And it sure would be one less thing to have to remember. Did I clock in? Did I clock out? Yeah.
So funny because when you just said clock out, I was just like, oh, I never clocked out when I left work.
Right. So now you have to like figure out, oh, hey, by the way, I left at 3:32.
Yeah, right. So absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I think I would really like to talk with anybody, if anyone's listening that is salary. I would love to hear how it works for you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Kim, we took this break time power chat and turned it into a lunch hour power chat, probably a little bit longer, but hey, it's okay. I think we're allowed every once in a while. So any parting ideas, thoughts, Kim, that you were like, okay, this is the number one thing I took away from this?
I would say the number one thing too is don't think of compensation as just a dollar amount. Outline everything you need. I love that list of this is everything. Pick your top 3.
Yeah, I agree. That same thing for me is just having a true understanding of what is important to you as the employee, of understanding this is what I need for my compensation. And then I would say I'll have that conversation with the powers that be within the organization to make that happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Great, Kim. Okay. So looking forward to our next time of getting together, and we'll see everybody on the next time.
Exactly. Thanks.
Thank you to our sponsor, Dental Post, the nation's largest dental job board. Be sure to check them out for different types of employment resources. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And make sure you follow Tina and Kim on all the different social medias to learn other tips and tricks related to dentistry. Until next time, have a great day.